Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family. We are firing on all cylinders. All channels are active. Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. We have a news program for you tonight. And it's stacked. It's just a constant flow of information, news, new things happening. And, of course, Donald Trump driving so much of it, all of it, on the world stage. But tonight, I don't know about you, but I sense a shift. Something has dramatically changed, and Donald Trump is on the decline. I can feel it. What he did in Davos at the World Economic Forum didn't work. It fell flat. He doesn't have the momentum. He's on the decline. And Mark Carney, love him or hate him, spanked Donald Trump. Big time. Bigly. Mark Carney came away with respect from other world leaders. Donald Trump, he's just feared. Not because he's a tough guy, but because he has the American People's Army behind him. It's sad. Actually, it's quite pathetic. But the roller coaster ride is far from over. We're going to bring you reaction, new developments, and details into Trump's Greenland deal, the reaction to Carney's speech on the home front, and we're going to show you the clips and the news speech from Mark Carney today, which just reinforced what he said on the world stage yesterday. We'll start looking ahead to tomorrow and the years ahead on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're back. So Trump went to Davos and kind of gave a tough guy speech. Laid it on the line. Said Canada lives because of the United States. No, Canada lives in fear that it may be stomped by Godzilla, and so we tread very lightly and practice extreme diplomacy. But we don't live because of the United States. In fact, the truth is, Mr. Trump, Canada doesn't need the United States at all. Not really. At least we wouldn't if we were allowed to exist independently, entirely. But we are right next door and we're attached. And it's mutually beneficial to work together. It always has been. But we've had our skirmishes. But we could survive and prosper without you, Mr. Trump. And that's the message that Mark Carney delivered today. But Trump went to Davos. We'll come back to that. But Trump went to Davos to secure a deal. He wants Greenland. And he stood up on that stage yesterday and he delivered a tough guy speech, laid it on the line for everybody. And he said, it's a small ask. He told other countries around the world that they should all be grateful. For what? For the United States protection. But what have we seen under the Trump administration? He's not offering protection. He's just running a protection racket. Gee, be really terrible if something happened to your country. Better just give it to me. We'll protect you. Anyway, he goes to Greenland and he gets spanked. He didn't get a deal. Comes away with, as I'm looking at it today, it's not a deal. It's like a framework of a deal, maybe of something. And it certainly isn't the acquisition of Greenland. That's not what he got. He got told, man, not up front, not saying, no. No, he just got slapped with a healthy dose of reality, I think, because you can't always get what you want. But he's got to put the spin on it, a positive spin. Here he is on, I think, Air Force One, talking about the Greenland deal.
Does that actually give you control of land in Greenland? Does it give U.S. control ownership of land?
No audio.
We're all going to work together, and actually NATO is going to be involved with us. We're going to be doing in conjunction, parts of it in conjunction with NATO.
So I don't know if you can hear it. It's very low, but he says they're going to be doing it in conjunction, parts of it in conjunction with NATO. So NATO's not splitting up. They're going to work with NATO and do what they were always doing, defending the territory through mutual cooperation.
This is really the way it should be.
He says that's truly the way it should be.
Will the U.S. own
Have any expense because we're not going to have expense.
But he says the United States isn't going to pay for it. They're not going to have any expense.
Other than building the Golden Dome, we're going to build the Golden Dome.
He says they're going to build the Golden Dome.
And we'll have participation in that also.
And they'll have participation in that also. Okay.
Because of the Golden Dome, we'll have participation in that also, meaning with the expense of it. And
He says meaning with the expense of it. And that's like a hugely expensive project.
it'll be like no other. I mean, our technology is incredible.
He says our technology is incredible.
Denmark signed off on this? Or are they on board with this concept? Is Denmark on board with this
And the question is Denmark on board with this concept?
concept?
I think everyone likes it. I mean, I think I'll let you know in about 2 weeks.
This concept?
I think everyone likes it. I mean, I think I'll let you know in about 2 weeks.
I got to listen to it again.
Is Denmark on board with this concept?
I think everyone likes it. I mean,
He says, I think everyone likes it. And then listen to this part here.
I think I'll let you know in about 2 weeks.
I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. That's his go-to exit line always. I'll let you know in 2 weeks. It's always 2 weeks for this, 2 weeks for that. I'll let you know in 2 weeks. He got spanked. No, Donald, you can't have Greenland, but we'll work with you to provide security in the Arctic Oh, and I know that the deal also has some sort of framework where it will allow access to critical minerals in Greenland, which is really one of the big things, one of the main things I think that Trump was really trying to acquire, which is, if you dig down into it, excuse the pun, but that's what it is everywhere. Access to the wealth of the nation, access to Canada's oil, Venezuela's oil, the critical minerals in Canada, everything that Canada has, the riches that belong to the people, also of Greenland. Mark Carney yesterday, he spanked him good. You can listen to the conservative spin masters if you want to. And that's fine. They can wax poetic about how Carney is putting Canada in peril, but he didn't. He took a stand and said there can be an alternative path, especially for medium or middle powers and the little guys in the world, the ants. My word, not his. He showed both confidence but also humility. He chose his words incredibly carefully, like with extreme care. And while he stood up to Trump yesterday, he did so in a way that was forcefully diplomatic. He gave Trump a message, and Trump didn't like it. But Trump really, honestly, yesterday, you could see that he was pissed, but didn't have a fully formed thought on how to respond, other than to say, oh, you're not very grateful. Yeah, actually, we are. We've always been grateful up here for everything that we've built together. At least I always have been, and people around me seem to be pretty much, well, with a few exceptions. Some people, all they do is complain. Sometimes it seems like that's all I do too. But not tonight. Because, yes, I've always been grateful for the United States. I've always felt like I was incredibly lucky to live in basically a free country, or as free as they come in this world, and to live next to a country that I always thought of as being free and a beacon of hope to the rest of the world. How lucky was I? And for the prosperity that came with living in this land of abundance next to another country that was the land of abundance and prosperity. Yeah, we've been very, very fortunate to come through the history that we've had on this continent and to emerge in the way that we have, with the United States as the world's leading power and Canada as a country of sober second thought and sometimes refuge and amnesty for those seeking protection from Godzilla. People escaping the wrath of the state during times like the Vietnam War era. The Canadian government saying, no, I don't think we're going to go all the way into Iraq with you. We'll just be there in a support role, but we're not going to participate fully because we just don't see it the way you do. But you're our friend and our ally, so we'll still stand beside you, but we're not going in there. Maybe you ought to think twice about that. Friend. So yeah, Donald, we've always been very, very grateful. How about you? Were you grateful during the Iran hostage crisis when Canada came to help? Got Americans out? Were you grateful? Were you grateful during 9/11 when Americans were welcomed into Gander, Newfoundland, with wide open arms and into people's homes in a time of extreme need, uncertainty, and fear? Of course they did. We were grateful. And we showed our gratitude and our love by, and I shouldn't say we, I'd say the people of Gander, Newfoundland showed their gratitude and their friendship and their love. Don't squander that. Mark Carney today showing more confidence. And I don't care if the guy has an L on his lapel or if he's a conservative, which in many respects he is, or if he's a socialist or a capitalist or all of the above. This guy stood up for our country yesterday, guys. He did his job. Doesn't matter what your political stripe is. When you're the prime minister of the country, you stand up for your country. You defend it. And that's what he did. He defended Canada's honor yesterday, and he called out the shortcomings of the old world order, acknowledged that there's a new world order upon us, and like it or not, we're immersed in it because Donald Trump is thrusting it upon us. And I sit here and I watch these other streamers who are entirely partisan, ripping Carney and making excuses for Trump, pointing the finger of blame where it does not belong in this time of disruption. It's sad. Blinded by their partisan bigotry, the money, I don't know. In a time of war, you pull together. You come together. After 9/11, I'd never seen the United States so unified. The parties, the politics, it evaporated. It was just the American people together for a very short time, unified in a way I'd never seen in my lifetime. Now is such a time. Because we are at war, not a war of our choosing, a war thrust upon us by a maniac in the White House who is power mad, who's gone insane, who has been corrupted by absolute power. Or so he thinks. Carney spanked him yesterday with a speech that was steeped in philosophy that Donald Trump, I'm certain, did not recognize because he just isn't smart enough or educated enough. And in wisdom. And so he comes home, and then today, Carney delivers an address to the nation before cabinet, and here it is. We're going to run it. I'm going to tell you. A historic moment for Canada.
Ça fait longtemps. Merci. Alors, bonjour. Mes chers amis, chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs, cet endroit est chargé de souvenirs. Au XVIIIe siècle, deux armées se sont affrontées ici dans une bataille qui a changé à jamais le cours de l'histoire de ce continent. Lorsque la fumée s'est dissipée, les deux commandants, Wolfe et Montcalm, gisaient mourants, leur destin lié même dans la mort. La Nouvelle-France était tombée. L'Amérique du Nord
I'm
britannique
going to let the
était née.
French run.
Il aurait été facile, voire prévisible, d'en rester là. Le scénario habituel de la conquête. Les vaincus sont assimilés, le langue supprimée, le foi interdite, le loi remplacée. C'est ce que les conquérants ont fait pendant des millénaires. De la grande déportation des Acadiens, en passant par le rapport de Rame suite à la rébellion des Patriotes, certains ont cherché à imposer ce modèle, l'assimilation, la logique habituelle de la conquête.
English coming up.
Mais finalement, ce n'est pas la voie que le Canada a choisie. Et pourquoi? D'abord, grâce à la résilience des francophones. Une résilience parfois silencieuse, souvent combative, mais toujours déterminée à préserver une langue, une culture et une identité. Ensuite, par pragmatisme. Les autorités britanniques ont rapidement compris qu'on ne gouverne pas durablement 70 000 habitants contre leur volonté. Surtout avec des colonies américaines instables au sud. Ainsi, tout au long de l'histoire de notre pays, des décisions ont été prises pour construire quelque chose de différent ici, ensemble.
As the philosopher king.
Cela n'a pas toujours été une ligne droite.
What Carney has
Les
done in the last
progrès
few
ont
days
été réalisés à travers des
laid
tensions,
the seeds
des
for what could
compromis
grow
et
into a
parfois des
legacy
échecs.
for him
Mais à
as a
plusieurs reprises, le
as the
Canada a
pragmatic
choisi une voie différente. And from that choice, initially practical, even self-interested, something remarkable emerged. Not a myth, not a miracle, but a growing commitment that coexistence could make us stronger, that we can build an identity which not only respects our differences, but also celebrates them. Un projet audacieux que deux peuples récemment ennemis, parlant des langues différentes, pratiquant des religions différentes, vivant sous des traditions juridiques différentes, puissent partager un même pays and build it together. The Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor contends that people aren't blank slates, but that our identities, personal and national, are constituted through history. In his words, the past is sedimented in the present, and our choices are shaped by what came before. Our country was built on the bedrock of three peoples: Indigenous, French, and British. Long before the battle on these plains, long before the first French ships sailed up the St. Lawrence, Indigenous peoples were the original stewards of this land. They built nations, trading networks, and systems of governance that spanned the entire continent. The Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Innu shaped this land and were shaped by it. Then the French came. They built a new society adapted to the realities of North America, shaped by the river and forest, by trade with indigenous nations, and by the determination to survive and flourish in this land. When the British came, that civilization did not disappear. It endured, and now it thrives. La Confédération est née de cette histoire. L'une de ses pères fondateurs, José-Étienne Cartier, a déclaré à l'époque que les Canadiens et Canadiennes étaient des races différentes, non pas se faire la guerre, mais afin de travailler conjointement à leur propre bien-être, qui vivent les uns à côté des autres comme de grandes familles. Ce pacte a été renouvelé lorsque Wilfrid Laurier a gouverné un pays qui avait autrefois conquis son peuple. Il a été renouvelé avec l'avènement du bilinguisme officiel. Il a été renouvelé lorsque les Québécois ont choisi, à 2 reprises, de rester au sein du Canada, estimant que ce partenariat, malgré toutes ses frustrations, méritait non seulement d'être préservé, mais aussi d'être renforcé. Les plans d'Abraham symbolisent une champ de bataille, oui, mais ils symbolisent aussi le lieu où le Canada a commencé à faire le choix historique de privilégier l'adaptation plutôt que l'assimilation, ou le partenariat plutôt que la domination, ou la collaboration plutôt que la division. Oui, cette fondation était imparfaite. Elle excluait trop de gens. Elle reposait en partie sur la dépossession de peuples autochtones et sur la violation des traités conclus avec eux. Mais cette fondation reposait sur l'idée fondamentale que l'unité ne passe pas nécessairement par l'uniformité, que nous pouvons partager un pays sans nous conformer à une identité unique, que nos différences reconnues honnêtement et gérées dans le respect sont une source de force. Ce choix résonne à travers notre histoire. Il résonne dans les choix faits par les nouveaux arrivants venus de 4 coins du monde pour s'établir au Canada. Il résonne dans les choix faits par chaque génération déterminée à continuer à bâtir, non pas sur le sein ou sur la terre, mais sur quelque chose de plus exigeant et de plus durable, un engagement commun à vivre ensemble, à accepter les différences et à rechercher le bien commun. Et grâce à chacun de ces choix, le Canada est devenu plus riche, plus inclusif et plus équitable. What makes Canada a great country? It's a great country for everyone. It's the greatest country in the world to be a regular person. You don't have to be born rich or to a landed family here. You don't have to be a certain color or worship a certain God. Canadians believe in the value of every other Canadian, their boundless potential to make this great country even better. Our ancestors, despite their differences, believed in each other and in us. Now, there are long periods of history where these values can prosper unchallenged. Ours is not one of them. Our values must be fought for. That's what we are doing. That's what Canadians want. Canadians are up for it. Our history traces an arc of broadening inclusion from biculturalism to multiculturalism, from being British subjects to becoming Canadian citizens, from being 2 founding peoples to being many peoples living in true partnership with Indigenous peoples. From William Lyon Mackenzie King's social citizenship to Louis Saint Laurent's liberal internationalism, from Diefenbaker's One Canada to Pierre Elliott Trudeau's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Brian Mulroney's environmentalism, to Justin Trudeau's pluralism and reconciliation, each generation of Canadians has built a modern, progressive, liberal state that embraces the values of caring and sharing, of equity and fairness for all. Institutions make up the body of that progressive state, but our values are at its heart. Institutions from the civil code to public health care, from modern self-government agreements to Parliament's recognition of the Quebec people as a nation. Values of inclusivity, fairness, solidarity, sustainability, and ambition. Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs, when newcomers are welcome, when minorities are protected, when Indigenous peoples are true partners. That commitment to inclusion was institutionalized first in the Bill of Rights and then embedded in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy and then as law. In the same spirit, the enshrinement into law of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples reflects our fundamental commitment to reconciliation and to respecting Indigenous peoples as equal partners in building our country together. And inclusion means going beyond the protection of rights to the commitment to creating a society in which everyone can flourish. That's why we introduced the Combating Hate Act, to preserve the freedom of people to practice their faith and culture without intimidation, harassment, or violence. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes veillent les uns sur les autres, surtout dans les moments difficiles. Et cet esprit de solidarité a inspiré les fondements de l'État-providence moderne au lendemain de la Grande Dépression, notamment l'assurance chômage, les allocations familiales et la sécurité de la vieillesse. De nouveaux piliers institutionnels de solidarité ont été ajoutés avec la création du régime de pension du Canada et de la loi canadienne sur la santé. Je suis fier, vous êtes fiers, que nous ayons élargi ces fondements au cours des dernières années avec le régime national de soins dentaires, les services de garde d'enfants, le plan d'assurance médicaments et le programme national d'alimentation scolaire. Au Canada, c'est lorsque nous sommes unis que nous sommes les plus forts, lorsque nous veillons les uns sur les autres et que nous veillons à ce qu'aucun enfant, aucune famille, personne ne soit laissé pour compte. Cet esprit de solidarité et de générosité contribue à définir notre identité en tant que nation. Canadians believe that fairness includes equality of opportunity, so that every Canadian has a shot at a good and fulfilling life. And the foundation of this commitment is access of every Canadian to comparable public services, particularly education and healthcare. These commitments were institutionalized when equalization was first introduced in 1950 and then embedded in our Constitution in 1982. And by protecting services like childcare, dental care, pharmacare, we strengthen the sense of security that Canadians rely on every day. A strong and united Canada stands up for families and workers and protects those who are most vulnerable, whether they're a newcomer, a person with a disability, or a member of the two-spirited LGBTQI+ community. Now, friends, the advent of artificial intelligence will simultaneously challenge fairness, inclusion, and solidarity, while it creates enormous opportunities for how we live, work, and play. And these tensions can only be reconciled if AI works for all. AI can provide powerful solutions, better healthcare, better education, better government services. It can empower Canadians with new skills for more fulfilling jobs. But realizing that potential will require fundamental reforms to our education system, how we do skills training, and to our social welfare system. Our upcoming AI for All strategy will begin to tackle these challenges to maximize the potential of AI for all Canadians. Le développement durable assure l'équité entre les générations. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont les gardiens d'un territoire vaste et précieux. Nous avons pris des mesures pour protéger au moyen de traités internationaux comme le traité.
I'm going to come back to him saying it's a little state, because I know that some people's heads are blowing up over that.
Ainsi que par nos progrès
But you
constants en
need to
matière de
understand what these
conservation
words
de notre
mean
patrimoine naturel, conformément à nos engagements
and not
pris lors de la
judge
conférence de Montréal en
through the
2022.
lens of a cliche.
Au cours des prochains mois, notre gouvernement mettra en œuvre de nouveaux plans ambitieux visant à accélérer le développement durable au pays, à réduire les facteurs liés à l'énergie des familles et entreprises et à protéger la richesse naturelle du Canada. Canada is ambitious. Canada is an ambitious nation of builders and explorers. We mapped this continent before the Americans had even left St. Louis. We built a transcontinental railway in 5 years, the St. Lawrence Seaway in 4. We created a healthcare system that became a model for the world. This government, Canada's new government, shares that ambition. We've already removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're catalyzing hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in nation-building projects. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade. And we're working to ensure that core Canadian capabilities, including in AI, in quantum, in cyber, and critical minerals, will maximize the economic benefit for Canadians of these new security imperatives. Now we need to execute fairly and fast. Les valeurs canadiennes telles que l'inclusion, la solidarité, l'équité,
You
la
tell me
durabilité
what
et
he's getting wrong
ne
there.
sont pas des idéaux
That's
abstraits,
pragmatism.
mais des guides
That's
pratiques
realism.
qui font partie intégrante
It's time to get
de
to work.
notre identité. Notre tâche est de nous en inspirer pour continuer à bâtir en ces temps révolutionnaires. Dans des moments comme ceux-ci, le Canada doit assumer 2 rôles à la fois. Premièrement, il doit être une bastion de sécurité et de prospérité pour nos citoyens. Nous devons défendre notre souveraineté, sécuriser nos frontières, protéger nos communautés et bâtir une économie qui offre des possibilités à tous les Canadiens et toutes les Canadiennes. That's why we're undertaking the strongest tightening of the criminal justice system in generations. It's why we're making the largest investment in defense in generations. It's why we're securing our borders through more CBSA agents and greater surveillance resources. And it's why we're building one Canadian economy and launching nation-building projects that will connect and transform our country. We will give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take from us. A core mission, while we're doing that, a core mission of our government is to lower costs for Canadians. That's why on day one we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax. That's why we've cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's why we've cut taxes for first-time homebuyers. It's why we reduced tolls on the Confederation Bridge and Atlantic Ferry fares. It's why we're launched, and we have launched, Build Canada Homes, to build affordable housing construction at a pace not seen since the end of the Second World War. This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that our most vulnerable get the money to which they are entitled. We also made the National School Food Program permanent so that kids have the nutrition they need at school. We've started, as we mean to go on, with a relentless focus on improving affordability to help Canadians get ahead. I said we had to do 2 things. The first is to be a bastion. The second is to be a beacon, an example to a world that's at sea. In a time of rising populism and ethnic nationalism, Canada can show how diversity is a strength, not a weakness. In a time of democratic decline, we can show how rights can be protected and equal freedoms endure. And in a time of rising walls and thickening borders, we can demonstrate how a country can be both open and secure, welcoming and strong, principled and powerful. There are literally billions of people who aspire to what we have built: a pluralistic society that works, a public square that's loud, diverse, and free, an economy that delivers broadly shared prosperity, a democracy that chooses to protect the most vulnerable against the powerful. Now, Canada can't solve all the world's problems, but we can show that another way is possible, that the arc of history isn't destined to be warped towards authoritarianism and exclusion, it can still bend towards progress and justice. There you go. Nous ne faisons aucune illusion. Le monde est de plus en plus dangereux et divisé. Les anciennes alliances sont en train d'être redéfinies et, dans certains cas, rompues. Dans cette nouvelle ère, le leadership du Canada se définira non seulement par la force de nos valeurs, mais aussi par la valeur de notre force. Nous procédons au plus important renforcement de nos capacités militaires et sécurité depuis la Seconde Guerre mondiale. Nous disposons des ressources dont le monde a besoin. Nous avons les talents nécessaires pour transformer ce potentiel en croissance. Et nous avons l'ambition de relever les défis de cette nouvelle ère. Nous consolidons notre force à l'intérieur de nos frontières et renforçons notre résilience en diversifiant nos partenariats à l'étranger grâce à une approche polyvalente qui défend nos valeurs et qui fait progresser nos intérêts. So let me return to where I began, where Canada began. 267 years ago, this ground was soaked with blood. Two empires had collided, one had prevailed, and the question was, what will come next? The answer that emerged slowly, imperfectly, not without struggle, but unmistakably, was cooperation, partnership, a shared future. That response was not inevitable. That response was chosen. Chosen by British administrators who eventually saw the wisdom of cooperation. Chosen by French Canadians who eventually committed to build within the new reality. Chosen by the founders of Confederation who believed that two peoples could become partners in one country. And chosen by every subsequent generation who built on that foundation. Les traces de notre passé sont ancrées dans notre présent, dans nos deux langues officielles, dans notre système fédéral, dans notre compréhension grandissante de la notion d'appartenance. Nous sommes désormais les gardiens de cet héritage. Et il est de notre responsabilité de la faire fructifier puisque nous avons la chance de le faire. In this time of great consequence, we are choosing. We are choosing to work together to build one Canadian economy. We've made great progress over the past year. Now we have to redouble our efforts with the provinces and territories. We're choosing to find new markets and develop new partnerships. We've announced a dozen new economic and security partnerships across 4 continents in the last 6 months. More will come, all will deepen. We choose to build in solidarity with Canadian workers, creating hundreds of thousands of good-paying union jobs and investing in apprenticeships and skills training so that young Canadians can have the careers of tomorrow. On choisit de bâtir avec des ressources canadiens, à l'aide de travailleurs de technologie et de matériaux canadiens. Nous serons nos meilleurs clients. De bâtir de manière durable, parce que nous savons que lutter contre les changements climatiques est à la fois un devoir moral et un impératif économique. We're choosing to build inclusively, in full partnership with Indigenous peoples, inclusively to ensure that AI benefits all Canadians, to respect diversity, to accept others, and to combat hate so that every Canadian feels free to be themselves and can thrive in the greatest country on earth. When we live our values, we grow as individuals and we build as a people. When we're kind, kindness grows. When we're united, unity grows. When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows. Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. C'est notre pays. C'est notre avenir. Le choix nous appartient. We choose to build a bright future worthy of the ground on which we stand. We choose Canada. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. So that was a lot. And I made notes. Can you read those? First, liberal. Okay. Calm down. Canada is a liberal democracy. I'm a classical liberal. You probably are too. You maybe just don't know it. When the word liberal in this sense means a liberal democracy, it means freedom, it means democracy, it means freedom of speech, it means all of those things. It means free markets, or sort of free, right? But those are the things that form the foundation. It means the rule of law. It means justice. That's what Western society as a whole has always been, especially after World War II, but even before. That's a liberal democracy. And there is classical liberalism. And within that classical liberal tent, you have conservatives, you have like true conservatives, and you have liberals from like the Liberal Party, who's, socialists, some socialists. You have people of varying political stripes. What you really don't have, and they may be living among you or among us, but they're not in power. And that's the fascists, the communists, the authoritarians, and whatever other political flavor might be out there that is authoritarian. If they get power, they destroy classical liberalism, which encompasses conservatism, true conservatism. What you have out there right now is these fake conservatives who are nothing of the sort. So if you're among them, you are misguided. They're lying to you. They are not conservatives. That's why some people refer to them as far right, or, they're not conservatives. That's not conservative doesn't mean being a shithead, dickhead, being able to swear whenever you want, never apologizing for anything, saying F you, not caring about people, taking over other people's countries. No, there's another word for that. A couple of words will describe that, but mostly that kind of behavior, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're a freaking fascist. Like not even an economic fascist, although that's part of it. Fascists are just dicks. Conservatives, that doesn't mean that's not conservatism. Conservatism means conserving what is good, conserving, like a conservationist, protecting your woodlands, your wildlife, your farmland, conserving it, because that's a good thing to preserve, to manage, and to fix the things that aren't working well, but are still worth keeping, because you can fix them up and keep using them, massage them a little bit, improve upon them, make things better. And then identifying the things that don't work at all, like fascism and other authoritarian political ideologies and saying, no, you got to stay way over there, man. I know we can't like ever totally get rid of you because these are ideas and you can never destroy them, but it doesn't work. So please just stay over there. You can be a dickhead if you want to be. It's a free country because we're a liberal democracy, but stay the hell over there. That's what Carney is talking about here. It's not the big L liberal brand. That's a party. And within a political party, the Overton window can shift. You can one day be, as the Liberal Party, shift your party platform to the right or to the left, be more conservative or more socialist. And the Liberal Party has moved over the years to the left, to the right, to the center, to the left, to the right. And they're always battling for, whatever position on the political spectrum they need to occupy, these parties, in order to win an election. The conservatives do it too. In one decade, they're further to the left, and in another decade, further to the right. And they're all basically in a liberal democracy, as classical liberals, they're occupying the broad center. A little center right, a little center left. That's the word liberal. What people are really upset about, what they don't understand, and this is where the culture war is being, the battle lines in the culture war have been drawn, is progressivism, which is an extension of liberalism because it comes from the expression of freedom, allowing people to kind of do your own thing. I'd say it's even the product of, the hippie era. If it feels good, do it. And that's an affront to people who are evangelical Christians or maybe more so just more authoritarian or more rigid Christian traditions. People don't understand what these words mean, but this is what you're really upset about. This is your drag queen story time stuff. That's progressivism. It goes a little too far because then they start to push it into the realm of mandatory education, re-education. You must think like we do. That's authoritarianism too. That's extremism as well. And that's why people are upset. But if you let these other people screw with your definitions and play word games with us and redefine what liberal means, they're doing that because they really want to undermine the very thing that you're fighting for, have been fighting for, if you're anything like me at all, over the past especially 5 years, which is freedom. Because they don't believe in it at all. There's so much I can say about this. And it's been on full display right here on this channel with our experiment into free speech. It's on display right now on our Twitch channel. And one of our Mavericks messaged me overnight just talking about that very thing, saying that, they've had some trouble from time to time in the Twitch channel and they don't really want to be there. They want to be over in the other chat, but they can't figure out how to get in there. You need an email address. You need to set up a Rumble account. And come on over. I'm sure that everybody in the chat there would love to have you, okay? Because you're not a troublemaker. You're not a shithead. But that's all they do over on the Twitch channel. If they don't know, pretty much. There's some new people going in there, I've noticed, because the channel's growing. And so we're getting some fresh minds in there and some better attitudes, but basically that's the channel that people go to if they want to be a complete prick and they think that's conservatism or something. Well, I don't even look at you anymore. You're a waste of my time, except that you've just proven my frickin' point. And so sometimes I just point to you and say, there's the lesson to be learned. These are the fake conservatives who are just dickheads. And I don't care about you. Stay, go, do whatever the hell you want. You want your free speech? You've got it over there. Well, that's what's going on out there as well. And you're being manipulated by a bunch of influencers who are part of a network that's part of a big political campaign, frankly, to just destroy everything because they're all acting like dicks. The conservative influencers? No, they're not. They're all so freaking young, and a lot of them so goddamn stupid or corrupted that they don't get it. So they just tear the shit out of everything all the time. You've lost me, man. Some of these people I used to watch, some of the stuff that they used to say, I was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of right. They've gone too far over on that side. And and I would even say, yeah, you're absolutely right. No wonder people are so pissed off. But now Trump's in there. And you notice Carney never said Trump's name once. That's because we don't need you. What we really need is for you to leave us alone so we can build. Because the orange orangutan is just destroying everything. That's what he's doing. Well, he pretends to build. He's not building anything. He's contracting. He's destroying relationships. There's nothing positive about anything that guy is doing right now. And frankly, I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to be the 51st state. I don't want anything to do with that guy. He's out of control. And he's the world's #1 frickin' dick. And he's made it okay for people to just behave like that. Especially men. You got to stop. This is dangerous. And I'm seeing in the chat, Canada supposed to arm up. Okay, we are actually. Because, yeah, we need to be able to defend our sovereign territory. But you know what we shouldn't do is we absolutely should not arm up so that we can stand up to the mighty U.S. military. If it comes to that, I think you'll find Canadians take a very unique and different approach. I mean, I can't say what the military's plan is, but I know we have one because we talked about that the other night. That's how serious this is. And Canada's not the only one coming up with a plan. And I also see Lori in the chat there, and she's saying that every country now has to be responsible for their own defense. Bullshit. Yeah. You know who needs to be responsible for their own defense now? The United States. They're alone. Do you think that if Russia were to invade the United States right now, I mean, maybe other countries might come to your aid? Maybe. And you would need us. And we love you. But this is ridiculous and stupid. Canada leads now. Not because we have the most powerful military in the world, but because we have made a moral choice. And Mark Carney yesterday, I don't give a crap what political stripe that guy wears. He stood up to Godzilla. And the world applauded. Especially the little guys. What about you? Is Canada really alone? Nope. Are we responsible for our own defense? Nope. That's what Carney was talking about yesterday. Working together cooperatively. What's going on in Greenland right now? Why do you think Trump backed down? He didn't get his deal on Greenland because NATO countries have sent troops to Greenland. Remember a while back, it was that French submarine, nuclear sub, parked in the Halifax harbor? What do you think that really was? That wasn't a random thing. I got a little bit of media attention. That was sending a message. The message is Canada's not alone. See? So yeah, we should build up our military in a responsible way to cooperate with other countries so that we have a deterrent so that we're a prickly porcupine that's just too painful to eat. But we don't need to be baby Godzilla. I don't want to be baby Godzilla. I don't want to bend the knee to Donald Trump. No knee pads needed over here. Didn't intend to do this, but it seems every time we get on here and we start talking about this stuff, it just flows because it needs to be said. How dare you, Donald Trump, and the rest of you who blindly follow this? 20% of people in the United States today, just was sent to me before airtime, showing me this poll. 20% of American people support the idea of taking over Greenland. That means 80% are against it, so bravo to you. But there should be 100% people against it, because that's not what the United States is supposed to be about. But I guess out there's 15 to 20% of dickheads out there who don't know any better because they don't know the difference, not between left and right, but between right and wrong. And it's just wrong to go out and steal shit. No, I'm not following that. Apparently, Mark Carney's not either. Thank God. Oh, but he's a liberal. Shut up. You're an OG. Shut up. Do you know how stupid you sound when you start just spewing that shit? You're an OG lib. Yeah, okay, David. Like, seriously, shut up. Come back when you have something intelligent to say. It's pathetic. You have TDS. That's not an argument. That's just a knee-jerk reaction when you have nothing intelligent to say. It makes you sound like a freaking idiot. You say it. Go ahead. You say it. Do you know how stupid you sound? You're better than that. We're all better than that. Come back over here, man. Over there, idiots. Oh, the Georgie liberals. TDS. Shut up. Go away. Not participating. Do I want some of these things that have went too far? No, I don't want those things. We can deal with that. Do I want to go to war over it? No. Because we can fix it other ways. And if the United States wants to invade us, you'll find out we're not alone. No, not this country. Why do you think the MAGA types, the MAGA maniacs, have been gone so long, and all these sovereign citizens, we got to decouple from the UK. Get rid of the king. You attack Canada, you're not just attacking Canada, you're still attacking the Commonwealth. You're attacking Britain, you're attacking NATO. You attack us, man. You're attacking a whole family of countries. You're attacking your own relatives. So shut the F up. Because it's pathetic and unnecessary. And that petulant child in the White House, that man boy, needs a good spanking. Another one. And he's going to get it. He needs to get slapped upside the head with some common sense. Because he's just stupid. Or maybe he is suffering from mental decline. Because what happened in Davos yesterday, that wasn't a win. That was a display of destruction and maybe mental illness. The guy wants to take over Greenland and doesn't know the difference between Greenland and Iceland. And people take him seriously because he's got a freaking suitcase that walks around with him and with a red button on it, and he can push it and blow people up. And he does. He says he's the president of peace, and he blows boats up in the middle of the ocean, and he steals oil. And then our friend, came on here the other night, and he's talking about how wonderful it is down in Texas. Okay. How much prosperity they're going to have. Yeah. Where's all that money that I saw dripping off the walls of the mega church that you were touring on your video channel? Where's all that money coming from, man? We're talking about dirty money, right? Where's all the prosperity going to be coming from down there in Texas in the months and years? What do you think is going on? They're refining stolen frickin' oil from Venezuela. I guess that would help inject a little wealth into the state when the refineries have very low-cost oil. Plenty of cash to go around. Ill-gotten gains. Oh, they keep the ships too. I know it's not right. It's definitely wrong. Not so sure about left, except that Donald Trump is absolutely a socialist. An international or national. So I don't know what it is, like a hemispheric social fascist, communo-fascist. It defies law. It defines description. I'll tell you what he's not. He's not a liberal. And he sure as hell isn't a conservative. Carney, more conservative than Poilievre. Poilievre today, in typical fashion, because what else is he going to say? Carney has taken the middle ground from even the conservative ground from Poilievre, from the Conservative Party. He's still out there trying to find his footing. He doesn't know what to do or what to really say because Carney's getting it done, man. But Poilievre today comes out and says, well, we can't just be talking about these things. We have to do things. Dude, the guy went to China, came back with $1 trillion deal, and he's bringing 49,000 Chinese cars here, which people are flipping out about because, I know that China is a security risk. So is every other country. China's a unique security risk because, I don't really think it would be wise to let them control our cell phone infrastructure. Probably not wise, so don't do that. Will these Chinese cars spy on you? To a degree. But safeguards are going to be built into it. And every electric car, smart car, digitized device spies on you, Doug Ford. So stop being quite so paranoid. Your phone is spying on you right now. And that's not the Chinese. Well, maybe it isn't part, but it's the United States, man. And Canada, our government too. They're all doing it. So it doesn't matter where the cars come from. Imagine this, though. I'm going to, these cars are coming from China. Okay. Auto industry. Oh, it's terrible. I know. It's very disruptive. But Mark Carney's a pragmatist. As I said, Pierre Trudeau is known as the philosopher king by some. Gwynne Dyer, I think, was the guy who wrote the book. I read that book when I was a teenager. Anyway, Mark Carney, in the last 2 days, has planted the seeds that may grow into a legacy of him being the pragmatic philosopher, dealing in realism. The reality is we don't have a choice. It's China or nothing, okay? Except the EU. We're dealing with the EU as well. We're going to deal with the whole world, except the United States. That's not our choice. Donald Trump doesn't want us to have auto factories here, and he's going to bring them back to the United States. He's doing that because he's really finding a way to deny access to their market for the cars that are produced here. So what the hell are we supposed to do? Well, we have a choice. In order to keep those auto jobs alive, the Canadian government could subsidize the industry. And they could take tax dollars and subsidize the wages of the auto workers and the production of the cars, and essentially pump money into the production of those vehicles to lower the cost, to compensate for the tariffs that Trump puts on. But who knows? It's this amount today, that amount tomorrow. It wouldn't matter how much money the government could pump so much money in Canada that the cost of those cars would be $0 on the open market, artificially low, and then we could dump them into the United States simply for the cost of the tariff to the consumer on the U.S. side. That wouldn't solve the problem, because Trump would just increase the tariff more. He'd just keep increasing the tariffs so that they are still too expensive for American consumers to purchase, because he only wants Americans to purchase cars produced in the United States. But what you know what? Donald Trump is the one who should be very afraid of what Mark Carney did in China, not the Canadian auto industry. That's disruptive and it's a concern, but it's actually a new opportunity. But on the U.S. side, what Carney just did with that deal is a big freaking problem for the United States. I'll tell you why. The United States can't compete. The United States has become a protectionist nation with a controlled state, centrally planned economy, with the entire economy, like on every level now, controlled through tariffs, which is a tax on the people, because everything coming into the country, every imported good, faces tariffs. And they have to be paid at the border, and those costs are passed on to the consumers of the United States. And even if you produce those cars in the United States, everything that's imported, everything that's coming into the country, higher in price because of the tariffs. And the money collected, all the money he's talking about, these trillions of dollars, none of that money is going back to the people. All that money is going into the government coffers. So it's money to Donald Trump and the government, not to the people. That's not spreading or sharing the wealth. That's not income redistribution for equity or equality or fairness. There's just none of that going on. He's using it for governmental purposes. Anyway, the auto industry there can't compete on price. So they close the market off and they just sell to themselves. So you'll have very, very few imported, if any imported vehicles coming into the United States. Everything will be sold within the U.S. It becomes a closed market, a closed loop. What did Canada do? We said, okay, well, you don't want any cars that are going to be produced at these Ford, GM, Stellantis, Honda plants up here in Canada. So what choice do we have? If you're going to do that, then fine, take your factories. And see, Canada is a smaller market, much smaller market. So we don't have the economies of scale here to produce a variety of vehicles for ourselves. So we have to trade with other countries for a high-priced consumer good like automobiles if you want selection. We could probably produce one or two or maybe three different models of cars here for our own people, but you'd have to restrict the market. And anyway, to have a robust and properly functioning auto industry sector within Canada, you need to trade with other nations. either the United States or somebody else. If not the United States, then we'll go to China. And we have now still a huge advantage over the U.S. because of what Carney has done. Because those cars are coming here dirt cheap. And consumers will benefit. You'll be able to buy Chinese-made vehicles for a fraction of what North American-built cars and trucks are sold for. You'll be able to buy something from BYD for probably half, maybe 70% less. Yeah. That's what the tariffs were for. It was to protect the country and protect those auto jobs by protecting inefficiency. Now, imagine walking into a dealership, being able to buy a car of comparable quality for 70% less. Now, suddenly, you don't need that $150,000 a year job to afford that $150,000 Ford F-150. You can buy something even if you're working at Wendy's. So on paper, the GDP might look different, but the quality of life, which is another index of economic performance, improves for everyone. Suddenly, it's the Model T days again. A car for the people. Or cars for the people and trucks for the people. Lots of them. Selection. Not only that, the auto dealers that pick those cars up, they stay in business now. On the retail side, so you've got that end of the auto industry. The car shows that I used to be involved with, like the new car shows, maybe they'll come back because now there's competition and lots of different car dealers and different models and various companies from all over the world. Now you have a retail sector and a growing industry again. And they're already talking about having Canada build the first Chinese technology vehicles here in Canada. And that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. And yeah, those vehicles, they're going to be smart. They'll be digital, and they will track you to keep track of the miles you drive, where you're going, maintenance things, and there will be regulations if we handle all of that stuff properly. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stuff you into a 15-minute city in a 2-minute garage or whatever the hell that is. On the contrary, if that was their goal, they wouldn't be bringing Chinese cars here because they would want to keep you locked up in your little 15-minute city, not give you any kind of mobility or freedom. So it's just change, man. And change is hard. And Donald Trump should be very worried because, well, you're buying your car for 70% less. All the people in the United States are going to still be paying. It won't be $150,000. It'll be $200,000 for that Ford F-150 because the tariffs are protecting the inefficiencies. And when tariffs are used in that fashion, the companies that are protected have no incentive to get better. All they do is work around the regulations and do whatever they have to do to survive that way. And if tariffs mean that there's less competition, then they increase the price because less competition means less competition. Less competition means higher prices. And they'll take advantage of it and they'll milk it. History has proven that. But Donald Trump is an economic moron. That's what's happening. And so he should be very, very worried because here's the other wrinkle in it all for Mr. Trump. It means the Canadians are not going to be buying any of those goddamn cars that you think you're going to be building in the United States. You're destroying this market for your products, which means you're going to be producing less. You're only going to be producing for yourselves, producing cars in an automotive echo chamber. Yeah, it's viable because the market's large enough, but they're not going to be the cheapest and they're not going to be the best because you ain't on the world market and your market's going to be much smaller because what you're doing is dumb. Mr. Trump. So yeah, Canada is ambitious. And while it's disruptive and it's scary as hell, we're going to get her done. And I wish we were doing it with the U.S. And maybe we still can. It's not too late. You got to stop beating us with your great big tariff stick, man, and everybody else too. Oh, what's Carney want to do? He's so evil. He wants to feed kids breakfast at school. What a bastard he is. Oh, what's that conservative's name? Jamal Giovanni. He's trying to make a big issue out of that, eh? Okay, whatever, man. I'm not a big fan of, too much government intervention, but if that's the worst you've got, I can live with it, right? Because the reality is some parents are just shitty parents. And even if they have the money, sometimes their kids go to school hungry because they just don't, maybe they're too busy working their asses off, or they're too focused on, I don't know, their hangover. I don't know. All kinds of social problems out there. So, okay, feed the kids. How bad is that? I don't know. It's going to a communist hellhole because Carney wants to feed children at school. Shut up. Like, seriously, I've just had it up to like here. I don't even want to listen to myself from like a few years ago, okay? Because I would tell myself to shut up. I know I would. Back then, it was a little bit different because it was like the perspective was somewhat different, right? It was like I was just trying to move the needle a little this way, not way over there. So that you destroy everything, man. I was trying to make things, just nudging it. Just, no, don't do that. Move it over here a little bit. Let's help the parents get more money with better jobs so they don't, And now the one thing that Carney said, I'm sure that in that one speech that is blowing up everybody's head, just diversity is our strength. It's a catchphrase. I wish he wouldn't say it, but he did. He means it. But I don't agree. I think it's not our strength yet. It's our challenge, and we still have to find a way to make it work, because over there you've got one group and over there you got another group, and these people are extreme and those people hate those people. And yeah, so it's always going to be a challenge, but it can be a strength at the same time, because more than one thing can be true at the same time. And it can be a strength. I mean, if you have a intelligence service and you need to put a spy in someplace overseas, and you know somebody, and you have somebody in your spy agency who speaks that language and they're loyal to the cause, then they're a great person to put in there because they'll blend right in. You take somebody like me and you send me to, I don't know, Iran. Okay, I'm here. I'll dress up like somebody from Iran, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to fit. Who's that guy? Yeah, I want some of those guys on our side. And we do have a bunch of them on our side. Just saying. I'm not afraid of it. No, those Muslims. Yeah, my Muslim friend from 2 doors down brought me goat. Oh, here's Rick. And his wife came over and like, hello, we brought you goat. I'm like, okay, thank you. That's terrible. Deport them. No, I don't want to. I'm not going to do that. Oh, Rick, you're really such a shelter. Do I? Not really. No. We got problems. We'll work them out, man. Just Donald Trump, stay the hell over there. It's an experiment, still ongoing. It's a challenge. But we're all in. There's no turning back, man. Yeah. Somebody's mentioned that kids were being fed at school long before Carney came out. That's true. Like, it's true. Like, those breakfast school programs been happening here for quite a long time. Not everywhere. Depends on the community. And they happen in the United States too. No, it's a communist hellhole. You fed your kids breakfast. Communist. I'm sorry for the Cheerios. Lynch them. Shut up. It's Cheerios. Okay. It's Cheerios, man. Chill. It's not the end of civilization yet. Yeah. Bloody hell. Did I really just talk that long? Yeah. I had clips of Gavin Newsom lined up. I had Howard Lutnick lined up. Well, remember what I was saying? Some people think conservatism is being a dick. This guy takes the cake. Like, really. Second, maybe only to Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe Pete Hegseth too when he's doing push-ups. I'll play this. This is him talking about Canada and Mark Carney. US-EU trade deal probably be put on hold. Yeah, because you had to back down. So he's not going to put the tariffs on the EU over Greenland.
And Canada is just thinking in this arrogant kind of thought.
Well, but just to build up.
Yeah, they want to feed kids Cheerios. They're so arrogant. Shut up.
And what John is talking about, it's a style question. Can you get the same results without using words like calling leaders weak or their economies decaying, right? Is it necessary to provoke the visceral feeling that we feel among a lot of leaders here and in conversations with international investors? I mean, is there any other way? Is that style more harmful than it is helpful?
Well, I think...
Yeah, it is actually, Howard. It's pretty harmful because people don't like it.
It creates listening. Like, people pay attention to it and listen to it.
Of course they do, because it's a spectacle and bullshittery. Oh, who's you in that? Yeah, that word slipped in. Sorry, Linda. Wash my mouth out with soap.
If you just sort of blend in, no one hears anything in Davos, right? Everybody says the same blah, 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 blah. And if you need to break out and you need to say it. So my view is, right, that Canada has never expressed to the world that they have the best deal, the second best deal in the world. The best deal in the world is Mexico, because remember, they have USMCA, which means 85% of the Canadian economy comes into the United States for zero. And there he is complaining that he's going to go to China and improve it. What's he going to do? China's delighted to sell to him. But do you think China's going to open their economy to accept exports from Canada?
Yeah, they did, stupid. They're taking the canola, which is what the conservatives are complaining about, which was also misplaced criticism, because none of that crap would have happened if it hadn't been for the United States to begin with. The only reason we imposed the 100% tariff on Chinese EVs is because the United States did it. And so we did the same thing. We were in lockstep. We supported that. And we said, well, if the U.S. is doing it, we'll do it too, because our industry is integrated and we work with the United States. So we will also take the same steps so that we're on the same level playing field and we exert the same pressure on China to try to affect the same outcome that the United States wants. It wasn't a Canadian-led thing. That's why China retaliated with the tariffs on canola. Wouldn't have happened if the United States hadn't put Canada in that position to begin with. And now, because we've lifted the tariffs on the EVs, they've lifted the tariffs on the canola. And Donald Trump should be worried, and so should you be, Mr. Lutnick. So you keep your EV tariffs on if you want to, but you're going to pay, your people are going to pay the price for that. Here in Canada, you know what? Our economy will expand and one way or another, we're going to work it out.
This is the silliest thing I've ever seen. They have the second best deal because Mexico's got a little better deal. They have 25% on the extra 15%, whereas Canada's got 35% on the extra 15%.
I don't care anymore, man. Like, I don't care what the deal is. You can keep your deal. Just leave us alone. How about that? And then we'll go and do whatever the hell we want. Like, I'm seriously at that point because I'm tired of listening to this. Well, we're letting you do this and you should be grateful for that. Like, you want to work out a deal? Let's work out a deal. Otherwise, shut up.
But give me a break. They have the second best deal in the world. And all I got to do is listen to this guy whine and complain.
Mr. Secretary.
Why? You know who whines and complains more than anybody? Donald frickin' Trump. Seriously, he's just a whiner.
In fairness, you've seen from the airplanes, you've seen about a 30% decline in Canadian visitors to the United States, if not significantly more. You've seen a similar type of decline from China. European travelers inbound have come down. There is a sense that people do not want to come to the culture of the U.S., and there is this anger about it. And I just wonder.
And Carney's not complaining. Carney's just pivoting. He's changing. And it's not just Carney, it's the whole country, man. We're not complaining. We're worried. We're saddened. We're just doing what we have to do. It's called pragmatism, realism. We're doing what we need to do to survive in the face of this destruction.
If you think that that's just temporary, or you just sort of dismiss that, or you think it's irrelevant to the actual issues?
I think what that is political marketing, right? The Canadians have the second best deal in the whole wide world. If they
And we're going to get an even better deal without you because you are shooting yourselves in the foot.
continue this path, right, which is a political path of a certain thing. I'm going to go fly to China. I'm going to open up my markets to China. I'm going to take Chinese electric cars and do all sorts of this stuff.
And that means we're not buying any from you, man, because you can't compete. So you can keep your freaking cars. That's what it means, dude. You're not smart enough to understand that. You just killed the Canadian market for all the U.S. produced automobiles. Nobody's going to be buying Chevys anymore, man. And if you had half a frickin' brain and could open your eyes when you're over in Davos and when you're traveling around the world, even just go to, I don't know, go take a drive down in, I was just in Costa Rica. You know how many Chevys I saw down there? Almost none. Very, very few. All kinds of Chinese vehicles down there already, and a lot from Europe. We're not going to buy your freaking cars. That's what's going to happen, stupid.
USMCA gets renegotiated.
Oh, well.
This year, sort of like towards the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer. Do you think the President of the United States is going to say, you should keep having the second best deal in the world? I mean, you guys are such great friends. I mean, they are playing with a set of rules that they haven't really thought
I can
through.
hear it in your voice. You're excited about negotiating.
Yeah, he is, because he's a bully. This guy's really not a nice guy. And he thinks he's got us by the short and curlies. He wants to abuse us. I'm not into it. So, I'm just not into it, man. You want to be respectful? We'll be respectful back. But till then, we're not buying your goddamn cars.
This, aren't you, later this year?
Well, they've sort of given a sort of a roadmap of saying, so I guess we should change the whole deal, right? You want to be like the rest of the world. You don't want to be this favored neighbor because you've taken it so for granted that you're willing to come to Davos and say there's two hegemonic powers in the world and we're going to decide which one we're going to work with. Really? You're going to either work with the United States of America, where 75% of your economy is totally tied to it, or China? Why would you say that?
Because you guys started the whole damn thing with your stupid trade war. That's why. And then you take all this stuff and flip it upside down and blame the victim, which is us. But we're not going to be your victim. We're going to do what we have to do to survive. And good luck to you as you just close yourselves off from the rest of the world. Have at it.
I think it's political. I think if we take it correctly, we should look at it as just political noise coming out of a prime minister. And maybe this is working for his election, right? Because I don't think it can be real. Because if you took out the math of Canada's economy and it doing business with the United States of America's $30 trillion economy, there's no such thing as changing what they have today. No one would vote for changing what they had today. Now, maybe they're marketing it well, but they're just for their politics. But they're surely not marketing it well for their fundamental economics for long-term the United States.
The U.S.
Ha, ha. Yeah. In the long run, oh yeah. If in the long run, if you just leave us alone, man, we don't need you at all. We have everything we need, and we can trade with other countries all around the world and be beyond like the level of wealth that we could have in this whole country working together is like beyond imagination. We could eclipse even what you're doing down there in the States, especially if you close yourselves off from the rest of the world. These guys are actually in a lot of trouble because of the debt that they have. And if they stop trading with other nations, and it's going to put all this negative pressure on the US dollar, it's going to collapse. Their entire economy is on the verge of collapsing. Like, I mean, it's going to collapse. That's what Donald Trump is doing. These are the economic conditions he is actually setting up. This guy, he's nothing. He's going to, this is not going to work for them.
And Canada is just thinking in this.
It's not going to work for them.
Long term, the United States.
Going to be painful, but that's the way it is. And Canada's debt to GDP, we're just overall we're in a much better financial position than the United States. And I hope none of this has to happen. The negative stuff. It doesn't have to happen. It's up to them. I don't think they have the wisdom. I don't think they have the smarts. I think they're overconfident. And what's that word that I used the other night? Hubris. It will be their undoing. But we have the best technology. We're the most powerful. Careful. Even there. Talking about military technology, and that's why you can dominate. And there's nobody even close. Let me do 50 more push-ups. Yeah, okay, Pete. Go buy a computer. How long before it's obsolete? A day? A month? New cell phones come out. New technology being developed all the time. We have stealth technology. We bombed the crap out of Iran. We flew in there and nobody even saw us coming because we got stealthy technology and we zapped that thing with an electronic whatchamacallit, and then that thing over there, their weapons didn't work. We neutralized the whole thing and it wasn't even close. Okay. Today. And then we flew down to Venezuela and swooped in with our stealthy chopper toppers, and then we had these Randy Macho Man Savage guys jump out and run in there and snag that Maduro dude. And then we used to work with him, but not anymore. And so we brought him back and we made up all these new rules in a U.S. court and we don't give a shit what they think down there. So we just brought that guy back. No one even saw us coming because we got the technology. Oh, good for you. Today. Radar was developed, and then they had, before radar, I guess, which way's the wind blowing? But, and then they, supersonic flight, and just everything. I mean, just technology begets technology. You have stealth fighters, stealth bombers. Well, be careful. What's going to happen when somebody finally figures out a way to penetrate that stealth and detect all these flying objects up in the air that are otherwise undetectable until the last second? It's going to happen. And AI, drones, robots, it's all changing. Now you can blow up multi-million-dollar weapons, $100 million weapon system with a $100 drone. And then suddenly The superpower is brought to its knees by the weight of the debt and the size of the weapons that they possess, because somebody had a better idea and developed something new to make your big, fast super jet obsolete. And then suddenly the playing field gets a lot more level. And suddenly Godzilla is not quite so powerful anymore. Just like it wasn't so powerful when Russia got the bomb and other countries got the bomb. More countries wanting the bomb. And this approach to reshaping the geopolitical landscape and reality globally by carving it up into spheres of dominance, it's just so dangerous. Because not everybody wants to be swallowed up whole. These smaller countries, these ants, they're going to fight to survive. That's what we're doing here in Canada. Question is, like, will the United States let us trade with China? How far will Trump go? Oh, he stood up in Davos and said, oh, don't you worry. I won't use force to take Greenland. But when you listen to him, it doesn't really sound convincing. Because it's not convincing. It's scary. What else was going on today at Davos? Yeah, Gavin Newsom was there. He had a few things to say. I'll tell you what, I'm going to dig into that just a little bit. Let's play a little bit of him. He's I don't know. He's a pain in the ass to Donald Trump. They don't like each other. And he's got his own style, that's for sure. Heads blow up when we come back. Stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Every politician, every leader, every human being has strong points, weak points, things they do right, things they do wrong, mistakes they make, things that they knock out of the park. And, oh yes, and our guest tonight, Regis, there was a mistake made, so he's not going to be joining us, I guess. But that's okay, because I've got another thing scheduled with him for another day. So just a miscommunication, but all is well. So I do apologize. Our guest for this evening, Regis Tremblay, will not be joining us. His presence here will be delayed. So anyway, back to this. I certainly see some mistakes that Gavin Newsom has made along the way, but what he said here on, for the other side of the story, one of the other sides, we take you back now to Davos and to Gavin Newsom and his full interview.
Start, you tweeted last or posted last night that this was the conversation, and yes, thank you for joining us, Governor, and thank you so much to the WEF for hosting this. This is the conversation that Donald Trump tried to cancel. Don't miss it, 11:30 Pacific. Thank you to our Pacific time viewers. Yeah. In fact, this is a different conversation in the WEF's defense. It was the privately run USA House, which is endorsed by the State Department, funded by big American companies, which did pull an event with you with Fortune yesterday. Yeah. And I guess I wondered to begin with, what does that tell you about the way the U.S. private sector, which is really very heavily represented here,
so you're going to get me in trouble right off the bat.
Political moment.
I looked at I admit, looking at the list, McKinsey and Microsoft and a few California companies. So what the hell are they even talking about? But it's indicative, I think, of America. Yeah, for those of you who are not American, it gives you a sense of what we're up against and what's happening across my country and what happened here in Davos. I was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse. They're censoring historical facts. They're rewriting history. They're censoring books, 4,340 books, libraries, and in schools, banned in the United States of America. You're watching institutions. Any institution of independent thinking is under assault and attack by the Trump administration. You're seeing what's playing out in the streets of American cities, what played out in California, the second largest city in the United States of America. 4,000 National Guard were federalized. 700 active duty Marines were not sent overseas. They were sent to my largest city in the state of California. Masked men. Guy Greg Bavino, dressed up. It's as if he literally went on eBay and purchased SS garb. Greg Bavino, secret police, private army, masked men, people disappearing, quite literally, no due process, windows being smashed, seatbelts on, being, literally just sort of cut off, people dragged in the streets, kids separated from families, knocking on doors, racially profiling American citizens. So is it surprising the Trump administration didn't like my commentary and wanted to make sure that I was not allowed to speak? No, it's consistent with this administration and their authoritarian tendencies.
But
Forgive me, these are objective facts.
But I would say this was not, just to be clear, this was a private enterprise endorsed by the State Department, but these are a lot of decisions are being made by private companies right now. This is, this is a capital. This is probably the central global gathering of CEOs. And I guess I wonder if you can give me a review of how you see these folks. And you know your way around this world. How you see those people behaving.
Society becomes how we behave. We are our behaviors. We're not bystanders in this world. The world we're experiencing happened on our watch. So in the relationship to your question, yeah, they're complicit in some respects to this moment. And forgive me, you brought up a tweet, but part of my approach has been a little more aggressive than perhaps a lot of American politicians. I created a Patriot site. On the site, you can go. There are knee pads that are available to purchase. The last round of knee pads sold out, just as our law firms are selling out. Many American universities are selling out. And yes, many corporate leaders are selling out to this administration, selling out our values, selling out our future, selling out what makes America great. And it breaks my heart. And people need to stand up. People need to, courage of their damn convictions. We're the 250th anniversary of the United States of America this year. It's the 250th anniversary. The best of the Roman Republic, Greek democracy, co-equal branches of government, the rule of law, popular sovereignty. Tell me that reflects the America you read about today. There's no rule of law. It's the rule of dawn. I hope for Europeans, it's dawning on you. It's not the rule of law. You don't have co-equal branches of government. You have a supine Congress. You don't have a Speaker of the House. It doesn't exist. Popular sovereignty being challenged every single day by voter suppression, trying to rig elections. I mean, heck, Donald Trump tried to steal the election, the last election, tried to light democracy on fire, and then pardoned everyone that participated in that. Is anyone paying attention to what the hell is going on in the United States of America? So my state of mind is a little different, perhaps, than many others. I won't be complicit at this moment.
I want to stop there for a moment because what he's saying there highlights how more than one thing can be true at the same time, but also how we are manipulated by media. Because his view of J6 is what you're hearing from him. But if you talk to people on the MAGA side, their view is that they didn't do anything wrong at all and that they were just there protesting. And I viewed that too as a protest that got largely out of hand because the majority of people who were there did some stupid things. But the point is, your perception and opinion of that event, it's largely shaped by the media that you choose to use or choose to watch, or the media that you're being fed in your echo chamber online. So if you're watching Tucker Carlson, all he's showing you are clips that he is selecting in order to spin a particular narrative or point of view on that event. He's not showing you the violence. He's only showing you the guys aimlessly wandering around the building saying, look, these guys are peaceful. But he's not showing you what happened over there. Those guys were peaceful. Those guys over there were not. Just like at the Freedom Convoy. Those people were peaceful. Those people were not. And even though we sat here and live streamed that from multiple sources, the Freedom Convoy protest, even there, everything we were showing you was selective. And so you were getting a very selective perspective. And at the time, I didn't really fully realize, I didn't realize really at all that that's what was happening, because I thought that all the people streaming were acting in good faith. When in reality, the vast majority of the people, maybe even all of them who were streaming from within the protest itself, were biased. And they were only showing you what they wanted to show us. And so we got this perspective that at the time, for me, and I think for a lot of people here, it was just the good stuff, none of the bad. And if you're only looking this way with the camera, you're not getting your peripheral view. You don't see the guy causing a problem there. You don't see a resident over there who's being negatively affected by it, maybe even inadvertently, but it is a negative effect. You don't see what's going on at the center of these things where you've got bad actors. Well, all the good people out here are just engaging in actual civil protest. And they should be left alone and let them do what they want to do. I'm just saying, this is why. Because this is new technology, the internet, live streaming, all of that. And if you go back even 5 years ago, the technology was even newer. So it was hard for us all to understand or get up to speed. Even me, working in media all my life, I've said nothing has prepared me for what we're going through right now. Because even though I've worked in television, radio, print, and I've been dabbling in online media for a long time prior to that, we'd never seen an event like that in Canada, where a protest like on that level and a political action on that level was being just live streamed from many, many, many sources all at the same time. And so I was thinking, because we had all these people providing all these streams, that we were getting a variety of perspectives and we'd see everything, but it doesn't work. If all the people streaming are of the same mindset, with the same objective, and are exercising the same level of self-censorship, saying, I'm only going to show this, I'm not going to show that. This is all good. We're not showing any of the bad, so that we spin up a particular narrative. That's what's been going on. And that's what went on with J6 too. You did have both perspectives though there. It's just that when you're watching this media, you get all bad. And when you watch that media, you get only the good. And then you get more polarization politically. Let's let Gavin Newsom continue.
I won't. I can't look my kids in the eyes. And so I'm just blessed that I get to represent a state that's larger than the size of 21 U.S. states combined. Where 27% of us are foreign born. We practice.
And I just one last point about that. The reason all those streamers were providing only that one perspective is because it was so overwhelmingly pro-freedom convoy streamers. And because you're in the middle of that protest, people from the other side, they're not coming in to stream. They weren't there. They didn't participate in the live streaming of it. They were too afraid because they all fight.
That's a word you haven't heard in America in a year, where we dominate in every critical category in terms of energy and daring and entrepreneurialism and innovation. Look, give me a category. And California outperforms, fourth largest economy in the world. And so we can punch above our weight. We can come here with formal authority and a little moral authority. And I tell you, we need a little moral authority in our body politic in the United States of America today.
Governor, how do you balance?
Good morning, everybody.
Sorry. I figured we would.
Do not buy physical gold. Dollars per ounce, because
gold, right?
Tokenized gold can give you all the inflation protection plus
gold meme coins. Yeah.
You're a tough interview, Governor.
I figured.
And when I think you have chosen a sort of, if you can't beat him, join him strategy to the way you're talking about this stuff. You talk,
I'll come on to that. That's actually a very important point. They're selling you that stuff, and that's affecting the content that you're watching too. A lot of these companies selling people gold and gold investments and so on, they do it on live streams where the streamers, the influencers, have this high incentive because they're sponsored by these companies to portray a scenario of economic doomsday to convince you to divest all your retirement money and send it all to them so they can then give you, these gold products and services that they offer online. So that's why a lot of these shows, every time you watch them, it's like, and the economic depression that's coming tomorrow will be 100 times worse than the one that took place in the 1930s, and it won't be anything, and you're all doomed, and if you don't buy, and now gold go. They're scaring the shit out of you to take your money, okay? They're not, and it goes, it's, and that's not the only product they're selling you. In this case, it was tokenized gold.
Running around distributing knee pads to CEOs, and I think it does.
Handing them out,
and it does.
I do have a few if you'd like. I don't know.
And honestly, it sounds.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out.
And I just want to
This is a serious moment. It actually, we laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
But I want to read you a couple of things the U.S. government has said about you in the last 24 hours or so.
How about the U.S. government?
The Treasury Secretary.
When you put it
the Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of Treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newscomb, and an official White House account, a federal government account, described you with I'd say, very online sexual slur that people here probably don't want to hear at 8:30 in the morning. And you're, in some sense, responding in kind, and waving the knee pads around.
Fire with fire.
Do you think? Should you? I mean, is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming. Come on, of course it is. It's not what we should be doing. But you've got to point out the absurdity. You've got to put a mirror up to this. This is madness. President, you see what he's saying about European leaders, you talking down to people, talking past people. I mean, look, the comments he made yesterday we're not even discussing because you're discussing all the other comments about windmills or whatever else that was happening. Well, he talked about Somalia's community. This is not normal. It's a deviation of normalcy. We've got to call it out. So I put a mirror up to Trump and Trumpism in all caps. And it was ironic because Pravda, Fox News in America, others, they got offended by it. They said, well, where's his mother to wash his mouth out with soap? I said, well, where the hell have you been? You've never said a word about Trump dressing up as the Pope, tweeting out and cosplaying on the world stage. And so the Treasury Secretary talked about a Barbie doll. It was as if he was reading a diary and had just broken up with someone. I mean, that was the Secretary of Treasury using valuable time yesterday on the world stage. Thank you for not sharing that on the official White House account. We're deeply in their head. I think the affordability agenda appears to be, I'm living rent-free in the Trump administration's head.
The most talked about speech here in Davos actually wasn't Donald Trump's address yesterday. It was the Canadian Prime Minister.
Forgettable speech yesterday.
It was Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney the day before, who talked about, I don't know, in large terms, the middle powers, everybody except for China and the U.S. really had to adapt permanently to a world without American leadership. I guess I wonder, I mean, that's in some sense a pretty anti-American point of view. That's a view that America is gone from the world stage, that whether the next president is J.D. Vance, Gavin Newsom, somebody else, this isn't a deviation, as you said. This is permanent.
Well,
do you buy that? Do you buy Carney's point of view?
I felt there was moments, and forgive me, I should be cautious making this statement. I don't want it to be overanalyzed, but when I was listening to the EU president speak, there were moments where I said, that used to be us. I remember that. So am I surprised by what Carney did? Quite the contrary. I thought it was, I had more leaders from the United States quietly, not publicly, not enough standing up publicly, the transcript of that speech saying, wow. They were, I mean, got in Trump's head yesterday. He brought it up. You know everything about Trump because it's what's not in the teleprompter that tells you everything you need to know about where Trump's head is on things. It was incredibly effective. The markets were more effective. Markets. It's not Mother Nature. Thought of most powerful force on earth with Mother Nature, but it's the markets, particularly the Trump administration. Combine that with the comments of Macron, combine that with the EU commissioner, but the clarity that came from Prime Minister of Canada. But the fact that he went to China, came back with a deal, started introducing low-cost, high-quality electric vehicles, not made in Michigan, Detroit, but overseas into Canada. It says everything you know about the recklessness of America's foreign policy.
Exactly. You don't have to like this guy, but what he just said there is correct. We're not buying U.S. cars anymore once this happens. So you can take the factories if you want, but you're not producing vehicles for the Canadian market anymore because we're going to be buying Chinese cars because they're going to be of equal or better quality and way less expensive.
Everything you need to know. You know it intimately, but it's a remarkable thing to break down 80-plus years of alliances. It takes decades and decades to build trust in organizations, the architecture of that. It takes weeks, tweets, hours, minutes sometimes to destroy it. Destruction is not strength. The Trump administration is weakness masquerading as strength. And people need to understand that. That's reflected in the tweets. That's reflected in canceling people. That's reflected in sending masked men into the American cities. It's reflected at this moment. So I respect what Carney did because he had courage of convictions. He stood up. And I think we need to stand up in America and call this out with clarity. We can lose our republic as we know it. Our country become unrecognizable in a matter of months, just not years. It is code red, blinking red in the United States of America. So forgive me, I feel this with passion, some indignancy, as someone frankly has taken it for granted all of these years. And it's why I came here to Davos to call it out. And I wish there were more of us doing the same because there are more of us. And on that, forgive me, I want you to know Donald Trump is an historic president. That's absolutely correct. He's historically unpopular in the United States of America. In every category, he's underwater. He will be remembered in years, not decades. He's not going to run again. Time of life denies that. Not a state of mind, but time of life. But we need to manifest that, and we need to do the hard work. And that hard work includes the difficult work of coming to Davos and calling that out. This is not where I want to be spending, I love you all, my time. Anyway, it's an extension of the conviction I feel about this moment.
Talking about people who, among other things, aren't American, maybe be concerned for America, but are making decisions about their own politics, their own countries. And what Carney's core point was, this is a rupture. This isn't an anomaly, and there's no going back. And do you think that? I mean, do you think that a different American leader can bring?
I think these relationships are in dormancy. They're not dead. I don't use those binary terms. Don't fall prey to that. That's a bit hyperbolic, and I'm prone to a little of that at times. Dormancy. We can look. He's an invasive species, Donald Trump. He's not. He is. He took over the Republican Party. They're just. I mean, he's got, a few of them. Lindsey Graham. I mean, speaking of the knee pads. I'm sorry. This is tough stuff. It's tough stuff. I don't recognize these people any longer. I used to respect Lindsey. I mean, Lindsey, you think what I'm saying about Trump's tough? How about what Lindsey Graham said about Trump? How about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio?
Do you think?
I mean, these are the same people.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working.
David, fix this.
For things to change, we need to change.
Do you think
and that's why I'm changing my approach. And again, grateful you all took me.
I mean, I suppose, do you think post-Trump there's a path back? Because you see this everywhere, the kind of insult politics that you're doing here, which you said you don't really enjoy it. You kind of seem to.
I'm just putting a mirror up. You got to. I was doing my 10-point plans before, and I don't think any of you would have been here this morning had I done that.
Oh, they would have been here.
No, because it wasn't working. No, everyone's trying to figure this guy out. How do you,
a Mark Carney crowd?
Yeah, no, but it's how do you communicate? How do you respond to this moment? And for me, it's about iteration. It's an entrepreneurial spirit. It's a very California mindset. You got to keep increasing the number of tries. And I was trying everything, wasn't working, wasn't breaking through. Democratic Party, writ large, wasn't breaking through. And we decided the only way to address Trump is quite literally to fight fire with fire. I did an initiative, Prop 50 in California. It was to reflect the fact that Donald Trump called an American politician and said in the middle of the decade to the governor of the state of Texas, I am entitled, Greg Abbott, to 5 seats. And I need you to redraw district lines, mid-year redistricting, to rig the 2026 election before one vote is cast. What the Trump administration expected we were going to do, as good Democrats do, we might write an op-ed. And we may, all go out and just say, this is just so wrong. And all of us would be applauding and say, yes, yes. And, as he's consolidating power. Instead, we went out and we redraw our maps. And we also drew a line in the sand. And I think that's what's required at this moment. And he susses out weakness like no one else. That's his great strength. That's his gift. But you punch back. You fight fire with fire. You display conviction and strength. It's a different relationship. And so my relationship to this moment is reflected in that. I'm not naive. These guys are going to try to take me down, not just my state. I'm not naive about what I've said this morning and how that will be reflected in the official White House account. I'm not naive about the fact that he threatened to prosecute the Fed chief in the United States of America that has subpoena against another sitting governor, Tim Walz, who's literally going after his enemies with the FBI and the DOJ and these power ministries. I'm not naive about any of this. I'm not naive about the corruption and the graft at a scale we've never seen in American history. I'm not naive about folks writing billion-dollar checks to Witkoff, to Jared Kushner, for this new peace deal they're announcing today. I'm not naive about the fact that the President of the United States made $1.5 billion+ in the last 12 months, personally. How the hell are we putting up with this?
He's right, $1.5 billion. And all I hear from the MAGA maniacs up here is Carney, Brookfield, Carney, Brookfield. It's just trigger words, man. If he's breaking the rules, we'll hold him accountable. But show me him breaking the rules. What's Trump doing? The rules, he's saying the rules don't apply to him. He's profited over $1 billion personally. Trump meme coins, gifts. It just goes on and on. Anyway, just saying. And the Board of Peace? The Board of Peace. The signing ceremony today. What was that all about? You had about 35 countries have joined or committed, they say, for a lifetime membership. It's $1 billion they have to pay. And a lot of countries are saying, no. I don't know if anybody's actually paid yet. You can get a 3-year membership, temporary, for free if you're invited. You had Argentina, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Pakistan, Paraguay, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, Turkey, UAE, Vietnam was there. But you know who wasn't there today for the signing ceremony for the Board of Peace, the $1 billion heir, the $1 billion boys club? Mark Carney. He's like, I want to know what that billion is going to be used for before we do anything like that. And you know who else wasn't there? Invited but not there, and hasn't decided if they'll join yet? Vladimir Putin. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And China also not there. Still thinking about it. Think about that.
We have to call this out. Unprecedented in American history. happening in real time on our watch. We have to be held to a higher level, all of us, myself notably, to a higher level of accountability at this moment.
We're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it again. Here we go.
And I think one of the main reasons that that he has been successful is because the Democratic Party is so discredited in the eyes of so many voters. I have a couple of questions about that. One is big picture about California. People, you are in the midst of a enormous economic boom right now, and yet the state is on one hand running deficits, and on the other, not always delivering services that it's, from education to healthcare that your citizens are delighted with. And I guess I wonder how are voters looking at California, looking at New York, looking at Chicago, supposed to say, yeah, this is the model we want?
Well, I'm proud of my state. We have more Fortune 500 companies than any other state in America, more scientists, engineers, more Nobel laureates in my state than any state in America, the finest system of higher public education in the world. We have 18% of the world's R&D, China 22%, Germany 21%, California 18% of the world's R&D. We're the center of the universe as it relates to AI.
California is wonderful, but what about the governance?
Well, the governance, we're one of the lowest uninsured rates in America. You mentioned healthcare. We just did our State of Education report, which showed in every category, every classroom, making progress with our test scores. Our investments are paying off. Just did a big State of the State.
The idea that these blue states have trouble, are spending more for less results?
I don't know. Higher life expectancy, lower infant mortality, lower gun death rates, more productivity, higher wages, higher quality of life. $83.1 billion. That was the net contribution that we provided to the federal government versus red state like Texas that was a taker state of $73.1 billion. So we're producing more, and people are, I think, creating more opportunities. So, look, are there problems?
For instance, you're supporting the mayor of LA for re-election after these terrible fires that a lot of your citizens do feel was in part because of government mismanagement. Do you just reject that narrative that the government has anything to do with these things?
I absolutely accept that we all should be held to a higher level of accountability in terms of our governance, and I think there's many areas of reforms that are necessary, and so many areas of reforms that were underway. We can get into the specifics of any one of these issues, but the general notion that in the middle of winter, with 100-mile-an-hour winds that were attached to a fire, that somehow, by the way, there were 16 major fires in Southern California over a 2-week period, that somehow that had to do with fire hydrants is rather preposterous. And it was shapeshift because of the complete bullshit that came from Donald Trump and Elon Musk, saying somehow the sprinklers didn't work and the fire hydrants didn't work because we didn't turn on a valve in Northern California. These are literal words from the Trump administration. So I do reject that. Do I reject this notion of being self-critical about governance and management across the spectrum? No, that's fair game.
And probably the biggest governance issue, policy issue, fueling right-wing parties in the United States around the country is immigration. And I think liberal parties, again, in the U.S. and around the world, had a posture of welcoming immigrants that it just turned out a lot of Americans, a lot of Californians, but more Americans are unhappy with. Illegal immigration, the out-of-control border, but also it's the last issue on which Trump, though his numbers have been sliding, remained somewhat popular. And I guess I wonder, do you think that your party went too far, or that you went too far? And I think, for instance, in extending Medi-Cal to the California healthcare program to undocumented immigrants. Like, do you? Well,
two different
I guess
questions.
On the big picture and the small picture, do you feel like you went too far?
Two different questions. Do I believe in universal health care? Yes, regardless of pre-existing conditions, ability to pay, and your status. I campaigned on that, and we delivered on that, and I'm proud of that. We're one of 16 states to provide care to people regardless of their immigration status. By the way, we have universal care in emergency rooms, and you pay the price on the back end, at least Americans, for that, regardless of your immigration status. But the issue of immigration, Donald Trump is very unpopular on immigration. He's successful on the border, separate issue, connected. And yes, the Democratic Party failed in the last few years on the border. And yes, I was critical of that. And yes, I put our own National Guard on the border the day I got elected into office. in 2019, sent 394 National Guard down to the border. And we were very, very pointed with the Biden administration that we were failing to deliver border security for a number of years. On the larger immigration issue, I happen to share the same old office of Ronald Reagan, governor of California, who decided in his last day in office at the White House, and he gave a love letter to immigrants from around the world. It was a love letter to America and what distinguishes America from the rest of the globe. He talked about Lady Torch, Lady Liberty's torch. And he talked about the vibrancy of newcomers, people coming all over the globe for riches and new beginnings, becoming Americans, and what defines our great nation. And that's the spirit that defines my mindset. Getting first-round draft choices around the rest of the world is what makes California so vibrant. It's because of that diversity, and it's because of people's willingness to dare and to match up with ideas and perspectives and backgrounds to come in to make a go of it that has made California the 4th largest GDP in the world. But we have failed on the border, and Donald Trump is failing on immigration. His economic policy is not complicated. It's tariffs.
The more you stay home.
Yeah. Here we go.
It's mass deportations, largest GDP in the world, but we have failed on the border, and Donald Trump is failing on immigration. His economic policy is not complicated. It's tariffs, which is a regressive tax. It's mass deportations, which is having a major impact on supply chains. And you've seen the American jobless rate. You're seeing it growing, the unemployment rate in America. Besson didn't talk about this. They had the worst jobs numbers in the first year of the Trump administration outside a recession since 2003. 49,000 jobs a month. The Biden administration last year was averaging 168,000 jobs a month. Inflation is not lowering. It's still at 2.7%. Ask folks what a pound of beef costs in the United States of America, or a brand new car. Everything you heard yesterday was BS. And it's impacted by these policies of tariffs that are impacting ranchers and farmers and small business folks. A major tax that they celebrate, collecting, which is ironic from the Republican Party. And the third leg of the stool is a massive tax cut away from the wealthy and the privileged, taxing now the burden on small businesses and working folks. That's the policy, easily described, of America's economic strategy. And it's a failed strategy, and the impacts of that strategy are being felt all throughout the United States of America, including my state that has been disproportionately impacted by these policies. So I'm very critical of those. I'm critical of our assault on institutions of higher learning, research, institutions that have literally been, they're part of that formula for success. The rest of the world gets that, and he's putting sand in the gears across that spectrum, and in California, again, is fighting and pushing back.
And some of those first-round draft picks got incredible contracts and are now made quite a lot of money and are now very freaked out, threatening to leave California over a proposal that, just to be clear, you oppose, to tax for a sort of one-time tax on the wealth of the very, very, very wealthy Californians. And I guess I want to ask you two questions. Yeah. One is, I was talking to somebody progressive here who said, this guy's basically a fake populist. He talks a good game about the billionaires. Here is an actual proposal that they're unhappy about, and you're on the other side. You're standing with Elon Musk and David Sachs on this. Why is that?
Well, a one-time wealth tax at a state level that almost exclusively goes to solve one problem, healthcare, and not solving for larger issues like education, supporting police officers and firefighters, and starves the rest of the general fund, that has had already the impact of people moving out of our state and impacting then the annual income tax collection, is not something I support. And by the way, vast majority of labor does not support as well. And that's reflected in my opposition. What's not reflected in my opposition, quite the contrary, is my advocacy for progressive taxes that does tax the wealthy disproportionately.
Do you have a theory for
I've
how
been
to
a
tax
strong advocate for that.
Do you have a theory on how to tax this particular group who often kind of live in this, and I'm sure, maybe people in this room who do this, but who live on debt, who have no income and live on these sort of giant revolving loans.
Yeah, I mean, when you could have that conversation.
I think the wealth tax is sort of an attempt to get at that.
Yeah, but at a national level, we're competing with 50 states. Capital flows and move, that's real. It's not imagined. It's very, very real. So we have a progressive tax structure, the most progressive in the country. By the way, states like Texas and Florida have the most regressive tax structures. They tax their lowest wage earners more than we tax our highest wage earners. They are the high tax states. We have the highest tax rate for the 1%. But for working folks and middle class, it's a very different tax structure. That's the approach we promote. That's the approach that we advance in our state. But again, our state of mind as it relates to the issue of a state-by-state wealth tax, the impact of that has to be considered in the context of how freely capital can move and how that's already occurred. It's not just an assertion, it's an evidence already in the state of California as it relates to a proposal that hasn't gone on the ballot, a proposal that has never gotten through the legislature, and a proposal that likely, if it did get on the ballot, will lose.
Would you campaign against it?
I'm opposed to it. It's already had, I think, a very negative impact on the state, and it's a badly drafted initiative. Again, that literally takes teachers and takes our educational system out of any consideration of support and impacts all the parts of our general fund. It is a flawed initiative.
And then I think conversely, these folks who control a ton of capital, and as you said, some are actually already leaving, have been leaving. How do you, over this, but I think also over a sense that California, that Democratic leadership broadly, complains about billionaires a lot, does not give them the love and respect that they feel that they're entitled to. You talk to these folks. Some of them support you, some don't. But what are you saying as you call people up and say, "Hey, please don't leave California"? What's your
Well, California's population 3 years in a row continues to grow, and so does our footprint as it relates to more Fortune 500 companies than we've had in over 2 decades. And our innovation ecosystem and startup ecosystem is second to none. We have half of the country's unicorns in our state. The largest market cap private sector company, OpenAI, just headquartered in San Francisco. They could have chosen any other state in the country. Look, I don't begrudge other people's success. I've never been that kind of Democrat. But I also recognize in a world, businesses can't thrive in a world that's failing. 10% of the wealth is concentrated, or rather 2/3 of the wealth in the United States is concentrated in the hands of just 10%. 10% of our consumer spending. This imbalance, it was Plutarch who said it to the Athenians 2,000 years ago. The imbalance between the rich and the poor is the oldest and most fatal ailment of all republics. Fast forward today. So this concentration, it's a very real issue, and we're going to have to address that. But we have to address it, I think, very thoughtfully and systemically, and I think we have to have it through the lens of a national reform. What we've done is the exact opposite with H.R. 1, which is going to explode deficits in the United States of America and debt. And again, it's transferred the tax burden to small businesses, farmers, and ranchers. It is an abomination, and it's a policy, unfortunately, the Trump administration is very proud of.
Do you think a national reform is enough? A lot of this capital is really global.
This is a challenge for all of us across the globe. And so the challenge is, do you have a redistribution mindset or a predistribution mindset? Do you have a progressive tax structure that can balance these things? And this is the iteration in the state of California, and this is our approximation. And I think California's figured it out in many respects. Our economic, our entire entrepreneurial system is thriving in our state. We're, I think, found that balance. We had the highest contribution of venture capital last year in our history, $106 billion. 68% of it went back into the state of California, despite our progressive tax structure.
Well, from the tweets to Plutarch, thank you. Thank you so much, Governor.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you. Thank you. From the tweets to Plutarch.
Okay. So that was Gavin Newsom. And I know a lot of you don't like him. I think he's made a lot of mistakes. And I can't see him becoming president, even though he wants it so bad. You can just see it. That's why one of the reasons I don't think he'll get there. He's just, I don't know. Too much baggage. I guess that's the word that I'm looking for, baggage. Now, all that being said, I just have some closing comments for you tonight, but let me take a quick break. We'll come back and I'll do that. Oh, hang on a second here. We're slowing down the computer. There we go. We got to get things caught up. Too much lag. Be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. I feel more hopeful today because of what Mark Carney did. I feel like what he did had to happen. I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad he stood up to Godzilla in the way that he did, because it showed me that it can happen. And when it did happen, Trump backed down, even though he came back with tough words and warned Mark Carney, but it didn't work. Carney won in that exchange we just saw with Gavin Newsom. Carney was front and center. And what he did is resonating with other world leaders. It's showing them that you can stand up, right? In his original address, not from today, but from yesterday, let me bring this up, and I'm just going to show you a few quick things as I close off here tonight. It's not about liberal. It's not about conservative. It's about Canada, okay? You scroll down. Here, you don't have to always fight with guns and bombs. So the best way to win a war or a fight is to avoid it altogether. And if you're really, really smart and you really know your history and your philosophy and you're a great strategist, you can strategize your way out of a war. Mark Carney's a smart guy. Donald Trump is not. He has some smart people around him, but I think they lack wisdom. And in true American style, I think that they exhibit this current administration. Not always American style, but there's just an element of American society that is just way overconfident. And the reason they're overconfident is because they're ignorant about a lot of things in the world, even though they have been thrust into the position of being the world leader. Here's Mark Carney, and what's his speech do? He's referencing some of the great thinkers of human history, Thucydides, right? Havel. The natural logic of international relations reasserting itself. And faced with this logic, he says, there is a strong tendency for countries to go along to get along, to accommodate, to avoid trouble, to hope that compliance will buy safety. It won't. Not anymore. Canada has always been in that position. I'm just me talking now. Carney knows that because we've lived next door to this huge power. In 1978, the Czech dissident Havel wrote an essay called The Power of the Powerless. In it, he asked a simple question: how did the communist system sustain itself? And you could insert fascist there, any authoritarian system of government. His answer began with a greengrocer. Every morning, this shopkeeper places a sign in his window: "Workers of the world unite." He does not believe it. No one believes it. But he places the sign anyway to avoid trouble, to signal compliance, to get along. And because every shopkeeper on every street does the same, the system persists. You just go along to get along, even though you know it's not true. You keep saying that it's true, and you go along. That's what's going on right now with a lot of these people who are acting like dicks. Even they know it's not right. A lot of them. It won't continue. It won't last. You may end up paying a price in the long run. Also, for those of you who keep calling Canada a communist hellhole and saying, "Oh, liberal, socialist," well, Mark Carney, not the pure communist that you might otherwise believe. He's right here calling out the falsities of communism right here in this speech. The old Soviet-style system of living within a lie. But when the greengrocer removes his sign, the illusion begins to crack. In other words, it just takes one person like us, Mavericks, to say, "I'm not going to live the lie. I'm going to live for truth." And what Carney did yesterday was also incredibly brave, and this is why what he did is so important, because he didn't just say, "I'm not going to live the lie of Donald Trump rolling into the future." He's calling out the lie that we've all been living in the Western world for decades, certainly since after World War II, of the partial lie of the rules-based international order. He's calling that out. A lie that the have countries, the first world countries, have all benefited from, while the have not countries, the smaller countries, the little guys, have all suffered under. Because while we talk about justice and fairness and democracy and sharing wealth, this is not really what has been happening, and it's certainly not happening now. It's much, much worse, because you have children digging cobalt out of the earth for lithium battery systems that we say are environmentally sustainable. So you feel good driving down the road, but some child on the other side of the planet is suffering. I'm all for the free market, but I'm not for abusing people either. I don't think that's what Mark Carney did yesterday. He shed light on the underbelly of the system that has been. And that took bravery, especially for a guy in his position. But the time has come. And that's why the global South will applaud what Carney did. That's why these smaller countries are applauding Mark Carney, and even people in the first world too. And maybe in the long run, what Trump is doing will be a good thing, because it's exposing all of these problems, all of this hypocrisy. He points out that superpowers, when convenient, right here, that the strongest in this international rules-based order was partially, not entirely, but partially false, saying this, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically, that's on one side, and that international law applied with varying rigor, depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. In other words, if you're the United States, you get to dictate a lot of the rules. And if you have a predatory president instead of somebody who's a fair trader, you've got a problem. And if you're talking about war, if you're talking about war crimes, the strongest nations, the superpowers, exempt themselves from the rules, so they can't be held accountable. They are, in fact, above the law. Canada, no. We signed on to these agreements so that we can be and will be held accountable for war crimes. But at the UN, the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice, the United States, Russia, they just say, we didn't sign. We're not participating. They don't apply to us. Well, they point their fingers at each other and say, Vladimir Putin, you're guilty of a war crime. George Bush, you're guilty of war crimes. But they never arrest each other. They never do anything about it. And in international courts, they are never held accountable because they say they don't apply to us, and we're superpowers. There's nothing you can do. We have nukes. What you gonna do? And so they have engaged in war crimes, all of these superpower countries. Maybe that is about to change too. Maybe this new world order that they all have planned, maybe it's not going to go down quite the way they thought, because you just had a Canadian stand up and call it out. That's why Donald Trump is pissed. So Canada leads. Canada spanked. Mark Carney spanked Donald Trump yesterday. And sent a message. We're going to trade with who we want to trade with. What are you going to do about it? Maybe Godzilla will crush us. I don't know. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. That's also philosophical. Yeah. A direct reference to those thinkers that he made comment on earlier in this speech. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. Mr. Lutnick, flipping things upside down, making your victim or intended victim out to be the perpetrator, the attacker, the ungrateful ones. No. The jig is almost up. People are seeing you for what you really are. And we've seen this mind messing going on for so long. The untruths, should I say lies? It's more than that. It's shaping people's perceptions and beliefs with falsities, fake numbers, statistics, telling people the economy is growing, unemployment is down, jobs are up, inflation is down, when all the opposite is actually true. And then telling people how terrible everything is and how bad it is, and pointing your finger and blaming your political opponents or even other countries that you want to take over. And so we've had, well, Mr. Aylott was on the program the other night. No future, he says, for young people. No future. They'll never buy a house. They'll never be able to get one. They're all too expensive. Can't get a job. Blah, 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 blah. In Canada. Yeah, it's challenging right now. There's some problems and we're working through them. But you know what? I know that these young people will prosper in this country because I'm seeing it happen already, personally. You can't tell me that there isn't opportunity here. There is. You can't tell me that you can't go to school, get a great education, come out, get a job, maybe even take that education, drain the brain power of the country and leave and even move to Texas if you want to, because we're free enough to let people do that. Even as we as a society, a community, invest in people's education and strengthen everything that way. But you can stay here and have a great life. And it's coming. because we're building, and the government has adopted very conservative, for Canada, conservative economic policies, but policies too that are designed to give young people in particular a hand up, all young people. Government going to build affordable entry-level homes, lots of them in the years ahead, and provide financial assistance through loans, low-interest loans, adjustments to down payment requirements, and so on, in order to make it affordable for people to enter the market at the entry level. And then the higher-end homes, which even Trump acknowledged in his speech yesterday, because the U.S. is facing the same pressures. Those homes, those higher-end homes, we're not going to build houses quite like that in order to solve the housing problem en masse. If you did that, then you would absolutely hurt the value of those homes, which older people, like myself even, and my parents, and I'm still here at their house for now, helping my dad after he had his free hip replacement, and he's doing great. You don't want to hurt the value of that, because that's their retirement nest egg. That's equity. Mr. A-Lot is, for a smart guy who seems to know something about business, is either just not referencing it properly for bad faith reasons, or he just doesn't understand that equity is basically your savings, your life savings. So of course, older people have more than young people. But I'll tell you this, it's all about to change because of the demographics, if for nothing else. Here, as I sit, personal story, maybe speaking out of school a little bit, this house, my son's going to buy it. That's right. He's in his 20s. He's working 2 jobs. And at his age, he's more successful than I was at that stage in life already, just because he works hard. And there's opportunity out there if you go and find it, take advantage of it. And he has. And he's been working to put down a down payment. He's going to buy this house for fair market value. And he has to do that to liquidate the equity so that my parents, who are upstairs, get the cash, their life savings, the savings in the equity of the home, equity, built up value over time because they worked all their lives to build that equity. You don't get that at the front end, man. You have to earn it. My son has earned the down payment, liquidate the equity. He now has a mortgage. My parents get the money. That's what they're going to live on from now on. And that's the way it works. And the reason other people are going to be able to do this, a lot of young people, is, and the reason homes will become affordable is because I know, Mr. A-Lot, you don't like us old folks, the boomers, but don't worry, we're all going to be dead soon. I'm sure that will make you very happy. And when that happens, as it happens over time, all these houses will be on the market. And that's because of changing demographics. And the young people who are buying the entry-level homes that Mark Carney referenced, the entry-level homes, they're going to move up the ladder because they will have equity built up in those first homes, and they'll transfer that equity into larger mortgages and move into bigger homes like this. Not that this is a great big home. It's modest, but comfortable. And it was a great place to grow up, man. So if you're careful with your pennies, you work hard, there's opportunity out there. And that's what Mark Carney is talking about as well, Mr. A-Lot. So you can tell all your young people out there that you think are following you, who are pissed off with everything and want to destroy our country, that the key to everything is what Mark Carney said, equality of opportunity. That's what he said. That's a very conservative idea. It's not equality of outcome. He didn't say that. He said equality of opportunity, which I've always said because I'm a conservative. So I don't care if he's got an L on his lapel. That's the brand. That's the party. He's pulled everything over to the center. And there's equality of opportunity. If you go out there and you look for a man, you can get it. And we got to work on that equality of opportunity because not everybody is equally offered positions in this country because there is too much political correctness still. But those are things we're working on and fixing, and there is still lots of opportunity. And there will be more in the years ahead because the demographics are changing. The older population isn't going to be here forever. New Canadians, and that includes my son because he's still young. That's pretty new. He's got a lifetime ahead of him. And the cycle of life, the circle of life continues, man. Not quite done yet, though. Not me, not my parents. Because Canada works. So my dad is doing great. But I'm still here because as much as it's work, you know, I'm cherishing this time. Because it's going to snow. So I got to clear the driveway. Because it's Canada. And around here we get a lot of snow in this town. Less so at home in Chatham. I'll be going home soon. Very soon. But somebody still has to shovel the driveway here. For now. You might remember I made a song for my wife a while back. Song about going out to see a movie. About our first kiss. Some of you speculating out there about me and my personal life. None of your damn business. But I will reveal this. Coming home soon. Maybe we'll go to a movie. Again. On the flip side, Canadians.
He asked her out with a nervous grin, heart pounding like a storm rolling in. She said yes with a spark in her eyes, and he dreamed of her neath moonlit skies. They shared a movie, popcorn, and a glance. Her laugh lit his world like a slow, sweet dance. At her mama's porch, his heart wished to soar, but the kiss he craved, he couldn't explore. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled pulled him close, gave him something more. Her lips met his in the soft twilight, and love was born 'neath the stars that night. 40 years on, when the fire feels thin, she can still reach the heart within. Just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in like she did before. The years flew fast, kids grown and gone, just them now with the quiet of dawn. She misses his touch, the fire in his gaze, the warmth is faded in life's busy maze. They tried a new date, the same old show, popcorn and laughter, letting love grow at their own front door in the evening's glow. She searches for courage she used to know. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled him close like she did before. Her lips met his, no need to pretend. Their love's a flame that won't ever end. 40 years on, the spark's still there. If she reaches out, if she dares to care, just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in forevermore. It's hard yet simple, this task at hand, to stir the flame in her gentle man. No words are needed, no perfect plan, just one kiss to show she still can. She takes his hand like that night long ago, steps up on the stair, lets her feelings show. With a gentle smile, she pulls him near, kisses him soft, wipes away the years. The past comes alive, their love's still true. The fires rekindled like the night they knew. She opened the door like she did back then, and found her forever, her gentle man. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled him close like never before. Her lips met his 'neath starlit skies, and love came back with no disguise. 40 years on, she's found it again, the key to the soul of her truest flame. Just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in like she did before. Oh, stand on the stairs, open the door, let love in forevermore.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.